How would you like to triple your video editing speed in Blender's VSE? Well, what I'm about to show you may revolutionize your video editing workflow practically overnight. Let's go. In my previous video, I showed 8 steps to changing Blender's default hotkeys in order to export your own custom keymap. In this video, I'll go through each of those steps to create a VSE Fast Cut Keymap, the same one that I use for my own lightning speed video editing workflow. Here's a quick preview of what that looks like. Okay, so now using our Fast Cut Keymap, I'm going to show you my own workflow and how fast it can be. Now remember, I'm right-handed, so this is a right-handed workflow, but I built this specifically so I don't have to look down at my keyboard. So my left hand is on the left side of the keyboard, and it stays that way for the most part, and then my right hand is continually on my mouse, and I don't have to lift my hands to move them very often. So let's go. So I'm just going to select here. I'm just arbitrarily cutting, by the way. So here, snap, move, cut, move, snap, move, clear gaps. Cut, move, snap, move, clear gaps. This is essentially my workflow. Now again, this is just arbitrary. I'm just showing you how fast this can be. Shift W to go backwards, Shift E to go forwards. If I go here and then press numpad 0, it centers that playhead. And now if I control middle mouse, it'll zoom in right to that playhead and out. I can control click on this side to select everything over here. I can control click on this side to select everything over here. And if I just wanted this as my frame range, I can do Shift Alt S. There you go. Or A to select all of them, Shift Alt S. And now the frame range perfectly fits all of our strips. Now if I Shift Z, I can go to the beginning and I'm ready to render. These are the 8 steps to create a custom keymap in Blender that I covered in detail in my previous video. In this video, I'll be following these same 8 steps, so I highly recommend watching the previous video first if you want to fully understand the concept of keymap creation. But if you want to bypass all of the work in this video, check this out. Double your video editing speed in Blender with my free custom keymap and cheat sheet for lightning fast VSE editing. Details at the end. Okay, so step 1 and 2, I'm just going to rename this to hold. This is my Blender configuration file, which we did earlier, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because we've already gone over it. So now I can just launch Blender, and we've got our Blender defaults ready to go here. Let's go to a new video editing, and then let's pull this out, make this preferences, and for your sake, I'm just going to do 1.2. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. So let's go to Keymap. I'm going to make sure we are using the current Blender default keymap as our basis, and then we're going to change it from here. Justin from the future here letting you know I did forget one step, and that is go to your preferences and uncheck autosave. This should be done before you start changing your hotkeys because we don't want Blender to automatically save them. So I'm going to do the menu items first, so I'm just going to go right down the menu and change all of the things that I want to change. First thing being refresh all, so right click, change shortcut, R. And then down to navigation, jump to previous strip, that's going to be Shift W. Jump to next strip, that's going to be Shift E. So I'm going to try to change those hotkeys so my left hand doesn't have to move around a whole lot. Okay, so set start frame, right click, change shortcut. I'm going to do right bracket. Now I know that's on the opposite side of the keyboard, but this makes sense to me. So changing the start and end frames to right and left bracket, that's our frame range. Okay, and then set frame range to strips. I'm going to change this to Shift Alt S. Okay, let's move on to select. I don't need anything from here, but just note that the side of frame left and right by default are the brackets. And since I've changed the start and end frame to the brackets, now we have double. So this is not the best practice, but I do know that this is going to work because it's going to use mine over these. So if I move the playhead here, hit right bracket, that's the start frame, and then end frame. So as long as they work and they don't give you issues, then it's not a problem. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. And now let's go to marker, and I'm going to jump to previous marker as J and jump to next marker as K. These are the only ones that I have like this and the numpad 0. And it's because I don't use them all that often. So when I am jumping between markers, I'm not usually cutting at the same time. So the J and the K are fine here. Same with the right and left brackets. But I believe those are the only exceptions. Okay, we can skip add and go to strip. Let's go to transform, and then I'm going to change slip strip contents in the preferences. So let's go to snap strips to current frame. It's currently Shift S, and slip strip contents is actually just S. I'm going to swap those. So right click, change shortcut. This is going to be S, and then we'll change that in a little bit. For remove gaps, I'm going to change this to V. And remove all gaps, I'm going to change this to Shift V. We can keep insert gaps as it is. I don't think I've ever used that actually. All right, I'm going to skip retiming. Of course, the split is F. The hold split is Shift F. Delete is fine. The mute strips is H, which is fine. The unmute strips, I don't like Alt H, but we'll change that in the preferences as well. Okay, I think that's good here, and we don't need anything with the image, so let's move on to the preferences. And for this, I'm actually going to do the pop-out preferences and place this over here on the left because we're going to use our handy dandy cheat sheet, which I've created that comes with the free download for the custom keymap. So you can either just import the custom keymap and you can be done with it, or you can look at the custom keymap cheat sheet, which I have 3 pages that are sorted differently. The first page, we have it grouped in categories. So this is the common hotkeys. These are the select hotkeys, navigation, and other. And then on the second page, we have all of the same hotkeys, but listed in alphabetical order by name. And this would be the name over here in the preferences. And the friendly name is more of like the menu names or just common sense names. But if you wanted to search, you could search for these names in the preferences. And on the third page, which is what we're going to use, is we're going to search by the identifier. Now, if you remembered earlier when we searched for split strips, and I showed you the drop-down, each hotkey has its own unique event buttons and switches, but it also has this name here, and this is called the identifier. And this is useful for developers that want to call this property. Now, it's also useful for us because it is actually searchable. So I can actually hover over this, press Control C, and then come up here, press Control V to paste, and it's going to search for anything that has this identifier on it. Well, if you wanted to quick change all of your hotkeys to mine, you could just go all the way down here. I mean, you can get the cheat sheet if you want, or just take a screenshot of this and just go straight down the list, and it's going to take you like 5 minutes to go through. And it's alphabetical order, so it's pretty easy. Just type in the name here, and then you can change your hotkey. Something else I talked about in my previous video were some tips on how to search the preferences to find the exact hotkeys that you're looking for. Go back and watch that video for more details, but here's a quick summary. You can search by both the name of the hotkey or its key binding, which is the hotkey itself. If you search by name, just remember the following shortcomings. Categories and search results are not listed in alphabetical order, so you have to pay attention when scrolling to find what you're looking for. Top-level categories themselves are not searchable, such as the property editor. You have to search by the actual name of the hotkey, the key binding, or its identifier inside the drop-down details. Menu names don't always match the names in the preferences. If you can't find the hotkey by the menu name, you may have to get creative with your search. Some hotkey names are not very intuitive. For example, if you want to hide strips, you actually need to look for mute. There is no such thing as hide strips. Some hotkey names are not even internally consistent with each other. For example, if you want to center the playhead, in some editors it is go to current frame. In other editors, that same action is center current frame. They both do the same thing, but the names are not consistent. Alternatively, if you don't know the name, you can search by the key binding. Taking the example we just mentioned, let's say you wanted to change the hotkey for centering the playhead, but you didn't know it was called go to current frame, but you did know that it was numpad 0 on the keyboard. Well, you can search by key binding by typing numpad 0. Or if you knew that K was to cut the strips, but you didn't know that it was called split strips, so you can just search by the key binding K. Just remember, if you change a hotkey while searching by the key binding, it will disappear from the list since it no longer applies to that search. To find it again, you'll have to change your search words. So that's a quick summary of the search tips from the previous video. Go back and watch it in full for more details. So I'm just going to follow the page 3 where we have the identifier sorted alphabetically, and then I'm just going to see what we need to change still, and if we've already changed it, I'm just going to skip right over it. So scrub move the playhead, yep, so anim.change underscore frame. And then right now it's shift right mouse. You can see that right here, the original shift right mouse, and the new one that I want to change it to is right mouse. So because we have two sequencer options, I'm just going to change it for both of them. Okay, I'm going to skip these two because we've already changed the set start frame and end frames. Jump to end frame we haven't set yet, so I'm just going to type in screen.frame underscore jump. And now you can see we have jump to endpoint. So we need to figure out which one is the start and which one is the end. So let's open up these event properties. And this one is checked for last frame. So this is jump to end frame. So jump to end frame is shift right arrow. And I want to change that to shift C. This one is shift Z. Easy peasy. Okay, so remove all gaps. We've done that. Remove gaps. Mute strips is H, which I haven't changed, and you'll see it's blank if I haven't changed it. But I've still included some of them that I didn't change. You can see the blanks here because they're still crucial to the editing workflow overall. Refresh all I've changed. Didn't change that. Select multiple with one click. This is really important. So in the newer versions of Blender, I think since 4.5 or 5, I can't remember, you have these connect strips. So if you come here to strip, you can connect or disconnect the strips. And that just means if you click out to deselect, when you select one, it will select both of them. And that way you can click and drag and move them and change them with one click, and it changes the handles. You can change the location, you can cut and select a handle and move it really quickly. This is nice until you want to select only one of them, and in which case you have to then disconnect. And you could use this hotkey here. You could change the hotkey to make it easier, or you could make it even easier by right-clicking and adding to your quick favorites, which is Q, and then you can do connect strips and disconnect strips. But I find that too tedious and it's an extra step. So what I like to do is I like to have these all disconnected. And then if I select one of them that has the same amount of frames as the one below or one on top, then I want it to select both of them at the same time. And that's what this is right here. So we want to search for sequencer select, and we want to look for select linked time, which is control left mouse. So sequence, oh, I'm still in the key binding. So let's do name and sequencer.select. Okay, and it's linked time, control left mouse. So let's just test that. So if I come down here and say control left mouse, then it selects both of them if I only select one of them. But I want that to be the default with just the left click. So I'm just going to click here. That's going to be my left mouse. And now if I deselect, I can select and it will automatically select both of those. But the beauty of this is all I have to do is click again to select only one of them, and then I can move just that one. It's so much faster than connecting, disconnecting, connecting, disconnecting. I can also select by holding down Shift. Now this is just automatic, just by changing this to the left mouse. So Shift, and then I can just select one of them or multiple if I hold down Shift. But if I just want to come over here and just select the audio, I can hold down Shift before I click, and then I just select that. But now if I want to select both of them, I just click out and then click again, and they're both selected. Easy peasy. It also works with the handles very easily. So click out, Shift click, and then G to grab. And this is useful for overlaps in case we wanted L cuts or F cuts. Okay, so next one, select all to the left and all to the right. This is pretty cool. I'm just going to go with the defaults here. If I have my playhead here and my mouse is hovering over on the right of the playhead and I say control click, as many strips, as many cuts, everything on this side it will select. Or if I hover over here, control select, it's going to select that. That's super useful. Select multiple strips, as you see, is shift left mouse button. You just keep selecting more. Set frame range to strips. We've changed that. Slip strip contents. Okay, so this one is a bit of an oddball, and I didn't change this in the menu because, well, let me show you. We have sequencer slip here, so I'm just going to type in slip, and you can see sequencer slip strips is S here. Back in Blender again, slip strips here, but remember in strips transform slip strip contents, there's nothing here. So it's acting like there's no hotkey. But if I right click and add in a hotkey, it's going to create a separate hotkey that already has one, and so it's going to be redundant. So this is the only one I know about that does this. But anyway, we're going to change it, and remember we're swapping it with snap, which I now have as S. So this is going to be shift S because I don't slip the strips as often as I snap, which is the next one, snap strips to playhead, and that is S, and we've already changed that. We've changed hold split and split. Jump to next strip and previous strip. We changed those in the menu as well. And now unmute strips. Okay, I do want to change this here because currently it is Alt H. So let's go to sequencer unmute. So unmute strips is Alt-H by default, but I'm going to change this just to H, which is mute, but I'm going to add another event switch, which will be on the double click of the mouse. And now it's double H, which you can see right here. And then right after that, we have unmute unselected. So unhide all of the unselected strips, which is Shift Alt H, which is this one. And I want to do Shift double H. So we just do Shift H and then change this one to a double click. Okay, center playhead is numpad 0. We saw this one, go to current frame. I'm not going to change it to Shift X. I was kind of practicing with that. I'll let you decide if you want to do that. Move or grab strips is G. That hasn't changed. Sequencer context menu, yes. Since we've changed the right mouse to scrub our playhead now, we want to call the menu. Instead of right mouse, we can do Shift right mouse, which is just essentially swapping those. WM, call menu, scroll down to, there's a lot of them. Okay, sequencer, and that is right mouse, which is this one, which WM call menu, Shift right mouse. Okay, so constraint on an axis we haven't changed, and that is just if I click and drag this and I press X, it will only move it on the X axis, or Y, it will only move it on the Y axis. And now we are done, and we can export our keymap. And I just realized that I skipped a step, and that is I completely forgot to turn off autosave preferences. Now in this instance, thankfully it's okay because I renamed my Blender version folder, which essentially created a new one with all of the defaults, which is what we're using. We're going to be deleting that one anyway, so this step doesn't really matter. But if you're not creating a backup like this and you're still using all of your regular preferences, you really do want to uncheck autosave preferences. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through and restore everything at the end, and that's going to be tedious. So just make sure you remember to do that. I'll go ahead and uncheck that now. It's a little too late, but we can still export everything from here. So that's what I'm going to do is export and just navigate to wherever you want to save it. I'll save it in the same folder as I did the one earlier, VSE Fast Cut, enter, and export. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close Blender now, and I don't need to save because I'm essentially just going to delete this one, and then we're going to rename this back to just 5.0, and now relaunch Blender, and I've got all of my original preferences back. Let's create a new video editing. Let's make this our preferences again, and you can see in my own preferences I was already using a fast cut that I made, but let's go ahead and import the one that we just created. All right, here it is. I'm just going to go ahead and double click, and now it's added our custom keymap to the list, and we can switch back and forth between them. Let's just go ahead and double check. I'm going to just do split strips. There we go, VSE Fast Cut, that's F and Shift F, and that's also with this one. But if I go back to Blender, it's K and Shift K. If I go to Blender 2.7x, it's K and Shift K, and industry compatible, completely different, which is what we should expect. I also want to check sequencer select. Let's go to Blender. Select link time is Control left mouse, and our fast cut is left mouse. Now you can see that there is no restore button here, and there's no arrow, and that is because the left mouse is native to our custom keymap. When it imported in, that was how it was already set up. So Blender doesn't recognize anything has changed. Now if I do change it here and I do Control left mouse, now it recognizes a change. Of course, it's going to make that change globally here, so we'd have to restore all of that. So we don't want to do it that way, but we can just click restore and then it will change all of them back to their native defaults. Okay, so we've imported our fast cut keymap with all of our original preferences, so let's test it out. Okay, so now using our fast cut keymap, I'm going to show you my own workflow and how fast it can be. Now remember, I'm right-handed, so this is a right-handed workflow, but I built this specifically so I don't have to look down at my keyboard. So my left hand is on the left side of the keyboard, and it stays that way for the most part, and then my right hand is continually on my mouse, and I don't have to lift my hands to move them very often. So during this process, I'm going to try not to cut in the edit so you don't think I'm cheating, making it look faster than it really is. You can see my screencast keys over here from all of the hotkeys that we changed. So let's go. So I'm just going to select here. I'm just arbitrarily cutting, by the way. So here, snap, move, cut, move, snap, move, clear gaps. I couldn't think of the words. Cut or move, cut, move, snap, move, clear gaps. This is essentially my workflow. Now, again, this is just arbitrary. I'm just showing you how fast this can be. Shift W to go backwards, Shift E to go forwards, and if I go here and then press numpad 0, it centers that playhead. And now if I control middle mouse, it'll zoom in right to that playhead and out. I can control click on this side to select everything over here. I can control click on this side to select everything over here. I'm going to control click over here and press G to grab and move because we're going to create an L cut. But for this, you can see that these are all linked. That means if I select one of them, it's going to select the one linked to it. But the problem with this is I can't then select one of the handles of the video or the audio and pull it over. But that's why we changed this in the preferences as well. So I'm going to go to strip and disconnect strips with all of them selected so that none of them are selected. So now normally if I would click, it would just select one of them. But because we changed that, now it selects both of them. But the beauty of this is if I select one of them, again, it now only selects one of them. So I can select and then select. And I can either select the audio or the video and move it independently of the other one. So we still have a connect strips right away, like before, but on a second click, we can just do one of them. Now it doesn't seem to work with the handles, but we can do a shift click and then it will just select that handle and then I can press G to grab and move it over like this. So let's do that. I'm going to select these, G to grab, and then I'm just going to take this handle, move it over till it snaps there, and then I'm going to shift select this handle, but first we actually have to click out so that I only select this handle. Shift select, G to grab, and we'll pull that over. And then I can clear all gaps by Shift V. Now I did look down there, but normally I don't have to do that. So now we have an L cut. I mean, of course, it's hard to see with this footage in the preview, but if we select these, you can see that's what it is. And if I just wanted this as my frame range, I can do Shift Alt S. There you go. Or A to select all of them, Shift Alt S. And now the frame range perfectly fits all of our strips. Now if I Shift Z, I can go to the beginning and I'm ready to render. So again, my left hand stays on the left side of the keyboard for the most part. My right hand stays on the mouse for the most part. And I don't have to look down for the most part at my hands, so I can look ahead, and that makes it for a very fast, efficient workflow. So I hope this was helpful, and leave a comment if it actually did help speed up your video editing and how much it did. And if you don't want to do any of this work yourself, like I said, check out this free download. If you edit videos in Blender and want to double your editing speed, you can download my free custom keymap that tweaks Blender's VSE hotkeys for a lightning-fast, right-handed workflow, updated for Blender 5. You'll get my personal keymap that you can import directly into Blender, which works right out of the box, a searchable cheat sheet PDF of all hotkeys I changed in reference to Blender's own defaults, and an Excel sheet you can use to make your own cheat sheet if you so choose. Link is in the post.